Hello everybody and welcome back to the Igor editor. Today I am doing another comment answering video, I guess. And today's question is from Nicole's, I think it is, and their question is pretty much how to script trigger plans to work so that something happens, then something else happens pretty much. Primarily a bunch of guys coming around running at you or some shit. And there are a lot of variations of stuff you can do. I'll probably go over the one I'm primarily going to focus on is if the player goes into a certain zone, then there will be a response. But I'll also talk about, like, if you kill a certain amount of guys, well, not amount, if you kill, like, a certain guy from a certain team or company, I'll go over that. Vehicles will be very similar, but I'll talk about all that later. We got our insertion zone right here, facing the correct way, or I guess facing towards the bridge. And setting up all this is relatively simple. I mean, I've covered all of it before. Pretty much just go to your whoever you want, and let's get rid of that guy. Let's make as many. Put down as many unique guys as possible. But you hold down Control to actually place the guys. You hold down Shift and left click to change their orientation, basic stuff. And you double click on the map to move the camera there right away. So you spawn your guys. Go to miscellaneous, spawn a zone in miscellaneous, and this is the zone that you want to be the trigger. So let's say we want to just come down this way, and then when we move in this entire area, well, we can't get down here without going around here, so yeah, just do that. So when we move in here, that's gonna trigger something. Then we make our trigger plan, and make sure it's under trigger plans, not your team, because otherwise the point of scripting all this is gonna be pointless, because it'll just be executed immediately. So go to trigger plans, do make whatever kind of plan you want, throw as much extra stuff on there. We'll lock them on combat and run, just to make this quick. We'll throw a formation in there just to have as much shit as possible, put them on single file. And that should be good enough. Okay, let's save this. And that should be everything we need right away. Everything physical on the map that needs to be put there. So you got the zone, which is going to be the trigger. You got the trigger plan, which is not going to be executed yet, which is going to be assigned to these three later, or whatever team or group you want it to be assigned to. Actually, I think you can only assign plans to teams. So if you want like an entire platoon to like reinforce something or something like that, you're gonna have to make a bunch of individual team execute things in the script later. But it's not hard. It's just copying. It's just doing what you do for one several more times for however many teams you got. So now we're gonna go into script, and this is where things get a little complicated. But first, since we're having the player trigger this, we need to make the game recognize the player's platoon as something like these. It's not going to show up in here, but we need it to be recognized in the game, and so we can use it in the scripting. So you go to tag, you go into script, you go to tags, you make the type platoon reference, and then you can name it whatever you want. Player's platoon, player platoon, my platoon, whatever you want. Just so you know what your platoon is. So we got that right there. And then we do another one. We go to, make another block. And then in the trigger event, you do startup. And then you go all the way down. In responses, you go all the way down here. Variable set platoon, and this I've spent 3 hours trying to do this. Not because this is hard, but because I failed to recognize a simple error. What I did the first time is I went to query, in variable I went to query first, set that to get actor platoon. So it would read set the player control platoon to the tag I set. I needed to reverse those, so variable needs to be your tag you made earlier, player's platoon. And then platoon, you go to query, get player platoon, set player's platoon to the player control platoon. I spent about 2 hours having these reversed, wondering why it wasn't working, losing my shit. So, don't do that. So, yeah, there we go. That's the biggest hurdle in the thing. But anyway, now to actually script the plan to work. So you make another block, go to trigger event, go to proximity platoon, set the platoon to player's platoon, in other words, you. Set the zone to whatever zone you had. I believe, yeah, that's the only other zone in the game. But if you want to rename the zone so you can have it easier, make it easier to remember, name it whatever you want, anything you can remember. And if you got a lot of shit going on, a lot of triggers and stuff, then yeah, it's probably better to actually name things specifically. But we got the insertion zone in this zone, so whatever. And the range, I just leave it at 10 for most things. It doesn't really make a whole lot of a difference. You can... Let's do 5. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. So anyway, now the trigger is when we go into this little zone, something's going to happen. Now we go to responses, hit add, and this is where, yeah, execute plan team. So this is where I think you can only have teams execute plans. You can't have like an entire platoon or an entire company do a plan, which I think is how it normally is with this stuff. So yeah, if you want a whole bunch of guys doing stuff all at once, you're just gonna have to basically copy copy this entire block I'm doing right now for each team, and you can make a different plan for each team, or you can just assign all the teams to the same plan, I assume. But yeah, execute plan team, plan, the plan you have. You can, again, if you got a lot of stuff going on, you probably rename, make them more specific, but select the plan you want, and then the team, whatever team of guys you got, or whatever team you want to execute the plan. And there we go. Assign this plan to this team. And if you had several more teams, you would just do, if you wanted them all to have the same plan, you would just do the exact same thing, except you would select a different team. But yeah, it should be that simple to do that. Everything should be working. I did not reverse the goddamn the player platoon and player set platoon. I made sure I finally figured that out. That was amazing how long I spent just doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, now we just run it forward pretty much, and I believe, yeah, we might have already triggered it, but it will definitely trigger it by now. Yeah, right when we get here, I think we'll definitely trigger it. And those guys are just gonna come running across the bridge. Here they come. Yep, just like that. Nice. 2 shots, 3 kills. And there you go. If you want something like that where you go into a certain area that triggers an assault or triggers something, you can do that. If you wanted to have like friendly AI go in there, you would not need to mess around with the you would not need to mess around with this, with setting your platoon. Although you should probably do that for any mission at all, because, you know, objectives and stuff and shit like that. So it's always best to set up this player platoon, but if you want just a friendly AI to move in there, you don't need to do that. And that would be like very similar to this, except instead of setting player's platoon, you would set the platoon that triggers that to do that. Like, I guess I'll just do it quick. Let's make a friendly... Let's make a friendly company right here. Just rename this shit. Okay, so if you wanted this guy, if you made a plan for this guy and just had him go down here, and you wanted him to trigger that plan, you would just, instead of selecting player's platoon, you would select platoon 401. Oh, 400, yeah, team 401, yeah. Yeah, that platoon. And you can do, again, proximity, you can do team, company, actor, an individual actor. Yeah, for this you could specifically do it. So yeah, actor 402 goes to zone there. It's pretty easy. All this stuff is linked together. Once you figure out how to do one little thing, everything else kind of starts to fall in position. Most of the time. There's a lot of other shit that goes way deeper than this, but you know, it's all about just figuring out one little thing. And you can do the same thing with vehicles. That would be a little different. Instead of having proximity actor, you would do proximity vehicle. And then I don't have any vehicles on the map right now, so I don't have any tags, but you get the idea. Pretty easy. It's platoon, player, zone 393. Yeah, all right. All that's good. Another thing you could do is you could do actor fire. Well, you could pretty much, anything that could happen could be a trigger for an assault or anything you want guys to do. So if one of these actors fires their weapon somehow for some reason, then that will trigger the plan if you set it up like that. Death platoon, or if you wanted to use these, I would recommend using members just so you don't have to kill the entire thing to get the plan to work. And it would probably make more sense if like one guy got shot, then a bunch of other guys would come to check out what's going on. But you can do the same thing with death, a vehicle, team member, platoon member, company member, an entire company, platoon, anything pretty much. If you place a demo charge, that might be a little weirder. Okay, yeah. No, that's not weird at all. Yeah, if a demo charge is planted in that zone, it'll trigger it. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward script as far as scripting goes in this game. And the hardest one is probably the player platoon, just because you have to add that extra tag in there and do that startup command to have the game recognize the player's platoon as an actual platoon. But other than that, it's just, you know, trigger response, stuff like that. So, yeah, hopefully that made sense. But yeah, that, you could really do anything. You know, a frickin' door closes and a bunch of guys roll up. You could, I don't know, do whatever you want, really. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question, and hopefully that helps. I have been looking into into scripting a mission failure if you run out of anti-tank rockets or if you run out of demo charges, but that is way more complicated with the scripting. You gotta add like a bunch of tags, go like 4 layers deep in the scripts. It's kind of weird. It's similar to the end mission scripting, except there's a little bit more to it, so I've been looking into that. But this is a nice easy scripting thing compared to that shit, so yeah. Yeah. I think I explained all that relatively well. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you made it here, if you watch any of my other stuff, thank you for watching that too. And I will probably be back with whatever I do. I'm not sure. I got like a whole bunch of shit going on right now. 4 different games overall. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.